Hi there, everybody. This is John Drew here from Elevated Planet.
Angela Gabrielle here from Elevated Planet. And today on this Sunday, we'd like to welcome you to our show. And John is going to give us a little bit more about.
Yeah, thank you, Jolie. Yeah, no, it's going to be exciting today. We have got a little bit of digging deep into what has been going on in the planet and this new 13,000 year cycle, which is now underway. Or to be precise, it's 12,812 and a half year cycle, which once you double that up, that comes to a full cycle. This is kind of like the half cycles. But these half cycles are, like the last one ended with Atlantis disappearing off the face of the map as we know it. And here we are. We've been going through a cycle that finished effectively on the 12th of December 2012, and a new cycle began on the 22nd of December 2012. Yeah, that's right. But it takes a long time for these things to birth, right? So this is what we're digging under the surface of today. And where have I found this out from? Well, our good friend Drunvalo, okay? This particular book is the focus of today for the most part. We've got more beyond this as well, as you can imagine. But what I wanted to do, again, we go back a few weeks ago when we focused on Sheila Seppi's book, The Walking Cosmology of the Soul, and Drunvalo's name came up for the first time. And since then, I have bought a number of his books. I've read 2 out of 5 of them that have come to me so far. So still got a lot of work to do, but it is fascinating stuff. And, this is what we really want to focus on at this point is just, I think anything that really helps us to understand what is going on and why, then it empowers us. It enables us to realize how powerful we each are and step back into that power and not be deflected away by the noise that goes on in the background. And we've got a little bit more of that towards the end there with Jolie as well, when we're talking about the noise of life and the value in being able to switch off from that noise. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention at this stage. So we are going to dive straight into the first little section from this Drunvalo kind of linked episode. So here we go. Bear with me a second. Hi there, this is John Drew here from Elevated Planet. Today I'm exploring a little bit more about Drunvalo Melchizedek, who I've spoken about recently and been uncovering his work. We discovered, as per Sheila Seppi's Walk-ins Cosmology of the Soul, that Drunvalo was in fact a walk-in from back in April 1972, so it transpires.
Over the years, I went through a trial and error process to find out who the right people were that I could trust sharing this part of myself with. As more synchronicities led me to more secure allies, I started getting certain clues in my dreams and during visionary experiences. There was one particular message that I kept hearing over and over. The name was Drunvalo Melchizedek. I actually knew his daughter, Asia. One night during a gathering at a friend's house, she asked me if I could drive her home to drop her dog off. While driving back, I realized that it might be the only opportunity we would have to speak in private, so I started to confide in her. Aja, I need to talk to your dad. It's extremely important, and I'm pretty sure he's the only person that can actually help me. At the time, I didn't really know much about his work. I had stumbled upon his work in passing many years before my experience and saw some videos about him working with the tribes down in South America, but I didn't really explore or know the extent of his work. I had no clue that he wrote The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life. Aja was assuming that I had a new age celebrity crush on her dad, which she later admitted was a challenge in many of her relationships, and that I was just trying to get a hold of him through her. She candidly deflected, saying, "So he is just kind of, traveling and teaching. Can I take a message?" So I paused to consider that I might not get a chance to talk to him, so I started to tell her about what happened. At the end of the story, she says, "Oh, you're a walk-in, just like my dad. He had a near-death experience, and when he went on the other side, he spoke with a council of light beings. The council's message was that Earth had become compromised by dark forces trying to seize control of our dimension that had bent all the planetary laws in place to the point of nearly breaking them. The council can't directly intervene, but in special cases, certain souls volunteer to incarnate or lattice, connect and integrate with existing vessels to carry out certain rescue missions."
So just to give you a little bit of the background on this, this is actually coming from Hawkins' Cosmology of the Soul by Sheila Seppi, which I interviewed Sheila probably at least a year and a half ago, maybe a little bit longer. And it was a fascinating story. I would recommend this book to anybody. It really opens your eyes to what this journey through life is all about, what the nature of consciousness is all about. Okay, first little pause point there. Really just wanted to share with you there something about, you know, this idea that Drunvalo was this walk-in soul exchange. So that is when, you know, the soul aspect that, you know, typically inhabits the same body for the duration of the lifetime. Okay, so here we are in the meat suit. You know, we feel that, you know, I mean, my version of reality used to be that I was the meat suit, and what I've come to realize over the studies of the last 6.5 years or so is that we just have our life force energy firing up this vessel. We are not the vessel. But nevertheless, what can happen is that certain times, if people are going through, sometimes it's a result of an accident or maybe a disease or some point where people reach a point where they don't want to be ensouled within their body anymore. And there is a soul exchange agreement that takes place where a new soul aspect comes in to exchange the departing soul. So rather than waste the physical vessel, the new soul exchange comes in and still has to live life as the previous person was, but at the same time, usually often brings in a higher aspect, as in Sheila Seppi, for instance, who's gone on from being, you know, like somebody who's on the verge of dying to somebody who's now got a multitude of clinics across Colorado, healing clinics, and a TV, her own TV stations and channels that she's running as well. You know, you see that these people are here for a reason, to help to spread the light. So what this actually suggests is that he came in from effectively an off-world reality. Now, again, that is kind of like one of those truth or deluded nonsense kind of things for most people, would sort of raise an eyebrow and say, well, I don't believe that. But anyway, bear with me. So what this suggests is that dimensional realities beyond our own dimension exist. Okay. And I think most people would agree to that, you know, and we know that our range of senses is actually very narrow. And we know, for instance, that a dog whistle makes a sound, but we can't hear it. It's just because the frequency is outside our range. And, you know, we can't see TV signals or radio signals, and we know they still exist. So plenty exist that we can't actually see, hear, touch, taste, or sense in any of our typical five senses type of way. So what that tells us is if our narrow range of senses is like that compared to a totality that's somewhere out there, it tells us that a total world exists outside our range of senses. So if you think that this is just the third dimension, then you've got the fourth dimension, the fifth dimension, sixth, and so on and so forth. All these represent different frequency bandings. So, you know, we have our narrow range here in the third dimension. We can see the third, we can see the second, we can see the first dimension, but we can't necessarily see the fourth dimension, the fifth, okay, until our frequency rises to such a degree that we actually get to see it. So that dimensional realities is an important point just to mention here and now, because we are going to delve into this in this next little section about Drunvalo. And again, that was always an interesting point there about the fact that the Earth has been taken over to a large extent by these darker forces that have come in, bending all the planetary rules to the point of nearly breaking them. Therefore, Drunvalo had to come in to help to remedy the situation. And that is what happens. It's kind of like, again, a bit of a bizarre thing when you look at it from a mainstream perspective, but you kind of get used to the idea after a while what this is all about. We're immortal spirits having a human experience. And when you get your head around that, it actually becomes quite joyous, because you know that you can never die, right? You are going to go on forever. But all these different experiences that you are going to have, if you're on the planet for 85, 90 years, whatever, this is just the blink of an eye compared to totality. So this is what we're going through right now. Anyway, I digress. Jolie, is there anything you care to add before we join into the next section?
It's so interesting because a lot of us, we're in this 3D world and we're locked in. It's almost like we live on this prison planet where we can't think outside of what we see. And Drunvalo is giving us a peek. We have people that we see each week giving us a peek into these dimensions and into these places where, if we just take our time and have faith in what it is we believe in, because no matter what you believe in, if you believe in religion, Christianity, the big three, Judaism, Islam, you still believe that there's someplace else, right? A heaven, a hell, or whatever. But we always want it to be in the future. But please remember, it's right here and it's right now. And so by you meditating and you taking the time out to connect with nature and do these things, it gets you closer and closer to what we consider to be bliss or peace. It just takes time because, as John said, this meat bag, it's dense. So our whole part of our journey is to learn how to take flight in our own unique way. And I think Drunvalo here can help us, really work some of that out. So I find his work to be very exciting, and this information to be like confirmation that we're on the right road towards, helping people elevate the planet and discover who they truly are.
Perfect. Yes, I definitely have me some of that bliss. I've it all written up here. My focus and completion equals bliss, liberation, true freedom of expression, fearlessness, celebration of life, joyous communication. It's all good.
Yes, it's really beautiful. And I just like to make people aware again, we spend a lot of time in the heavens, right? Because we feel that's what we've been taught. But please remember that your feet are on Mother Earth, you're dense, you're here with her, and she also has beautiful messages for you. So nature's a great way to heal and a great way for you to release. She takes it all for you and she recycles it. So just as much as you want to pray and do heavenly work, also remember to ground yourself and to also be in this dimension while flying throughout the others, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's great. And yeah, all Drunvalo's work was so integrated with Mother Earth,
Yes.
and beyond. But Mother Earth was a key connection for him. So 100%. Well said, Jolie. That's fantastic. Okay, well, we're going to go into that next section now, which runs on for a few minutes, and basically, here we go. And I was always interested in learning a little bit more about this, and I've discovered in this book where Drunvalo goes into more detail about what actually happened. He was leading several groups around the world. These pilgrimages were involved in moving the planet forward for the new 13,000-year cycle. Anyway, with this having sparked my curiosity, I've been reading the first couple of his books, and I've got several more to get through as well. And there's no doubt about it, Drunvalo's here for a very special purpose, and he is not just an ordinary human being. Not that any of us are ordinary, right? We're all so much more than we've been encouraged to believe. And this is part of what Elevated Planet is doing, is just elevating the consciousness of those who are within our community, helping us to appreciate exactly who we are. We're all creators. We're all creator beings. And yet we've effectively been disenfranchised by the way that we've been programmed through life. So it's a kind of an opportunity right now to undo that programming, to unlearn what we have learned and start afresh, because this is a new era. This new 13,000-year cycle is bringing us to a heart-based unity consciousness. And over the past 13,000 years, quite deliberately, we have been misaligned from that, believing ourselves to be completely separate. So now we are coming back together. And this is going to bring us enormous joy, enormous strength, and it's going to bring us enormous wisdom, because we will be able to tap into something so much bigger. So I thought I would read to you the passage from this book. You can draw your own conclusions, and definitely it's recommended. This is a section which is called The Egyptian Point of View, where he'd been speaking to the group that he was traveling with, which was a global group of about 60 people who'd come together from around the world to work with indigenous people in different countries, to pull together certain ritual and ceremonies that are vital for taking planet Earth forward. My involvement in these ceremonies stems from the fact that I came in from beyond the stars, from a world of no stars and planets, through Melchizedek consciousness. This consciousness is formless in an original state. It's one of many aspects of one consciousness. It came here at this particular time because of the massive transformation that is about to take place in our universe. That's what Melchizedeks do. We are always involved when there are dimensional changes that are beyond the capabilities of the people involved to solve. I came in through a place called the Crab Nebula, which is behind the middle star of the belt of Orion, and from there I traveled to the Pleiades. I took a Pleiadian body, and I lived there for about 15 Earth years in order to prepare for coming to Earth. From there I went to the star Sirius, specifically Sirius B, the third planet out, and spent a much shorter period of time there. I then went to the planet Venus for a short visit, and then to Earth. I arrived on Earth in 1840 in the fourth dimension. I am just a baby here. My present lifetime is my second lifetime over on Earth, whereas most of you have been on Earth for thousands of years. When I arrived on Earth, I was instructed to meet with the Ascended Masters, but there was no one on the fourth dimension. I moved up to the fifth and then to the sixth, where I found all of them but 3 who were on the seventh dimension. I was greeted by the ancient Egyptians, who introduced me to the rest of the Ascended Masters on the sixth dimension. One of them was Thoth, the scribe who wrote down the histories of the ancient Egyptian world. Thoth had been alive for 52,000 years on Earth, and he's still here today. Much like Saint Germain, who lives with the Ascended Masters on the sixth dimension, Thoth often recreates his body and returns to the third dimension to help us in a human way. Like Saint Germain, Thoth goes back and forth between our world and their world. Shortly after I walked into my present body in 1972, Thoth and I met, and I began a long spiritual training, which took 12 years or more. At one point, when I was finished with that training, I was told by my angelic guides that I had to leave Egypt's influence and go into the Yucatan, because the Maya held information that was important for the world as we make this transformation. The Egyptians only held part of the knowledge, and the Maya held the other part. There are a few other tribes that are involved in this, going all the way from the Native Americans in the United States and Canada as far south as the Incas in Peru and the Waitaha in New Zealand. There are 3 areas of Earth that hold the primary energies for the unity consciousness grid. In other words, there is a male, female, and child aspect, positive, negative, and neutral to this grid. The male aspect was manifested in Egypt, and it ran up the Nile, and it was all laid out in straight lines. The neutral or child aspect was located in Tibet, and the pyramids were made with crystals that created invisible structures. But the female aspect was manifested in North and South America and laid out in spirals, and the center of this female network, according to the Egyptians, was located in Uxmal in Mexico. The reason we were going to Mexico and Tikal in Guatemala was to balance the female part of the unity consciousness grid that holds humanity's new blueprint of consciousness. The world had become so male that the grid was not functioning properly, and without bringing the female in to instill balance, the entire grid would fail to function. In other words, we would not be able to ascend. There was a tiny, atom-sized place in Uxmal, an ancient Mayan city in the Yucatan, where a spiral began to come out of the earth. That spiral was connected to the center of the earth, and it evolved and expanded from Uxmal as it went to Labna, from Labna to Cabal, from Cabal, the spiral kept getting wider as it moved to Chichen Itza. It got wider still as it went to Talim. From Talim, the spiral continued on to Belize, and then to Kahunli. And from Kahunlik, it spiraled round to Palenque until it reached Tikal in Guatemala. The sites that the spiral visited are equal to the human chakras. Uxmal was the base chakra, Labna was the sexual chakra, and Cabal was the willpower chakra. Chichen Itza was the heart, Talim was the throat, Kahunlik was the third eye, and Palenque was the pineal gland in the center of the head, connected to the crown. From the crown chakra was a connection to the 13th chakra, which resides one hand length above the head. It was represented by Tikal in Guatemala. This chakra was the completion of the set of chakras that ran through the body. But it was also the beginning of another set of chakras that we will use after we ascend. Tikal was, from the Egyptian point of view, one of the most important places in the world. Tikal is connected to another set of 8 temples or pyramids moving in the opposite direction, counterclockwise, relative to Mexico. Then there's another set as you go further down into Honduras and El Salvador and Nicaragua. The energy keeps moving with spirals and temples that keep shifting in opposite direction each time they complete an octave. They finally enter down into Peru, where the spiral changes energy and ends at a temple called Chavan. It was the spiritual center of the ancient Inca Empire. Okay, yeah, I had to put that one under the Twiglet zone because I know this stuff is pretty fantastical. But at the same time, you know, it's fascinating when you start to dig under the surface. Now, this book as well, the Mayan Ouroboros, is actually the second book in a series, the first one being The Serpent of Light. So I'd read that one first, and I've got more that I want to share with you on that as well when the time allows, because it is just a fascinating thing. And I might just put it out on the Twiglet zone rather than use the weekly, but certainly I'll make sure that it's available to anybody on the community that wants to dig deeper and look at this a little bit closer. Now, there's a couple of things here which we can talk about. He talks about his angelic guides that came to him, I believe, whether it was in the 1970s, I think he first met his angelic guides, and he's been guided by them ever since. And again, this is one of these things that from a mainstream perspective, we don't believe we've got angelic guides. But certainly, you know, because of who Drunvalo is on the planet, clearly he's going to get more guidance than is standard. But one of the things that I have learned over the last 6.5 years is that, yeah, we all have angelic guides. We all have spirit guides. We all have our higher self. We have access to ascended masters. We have access to all sorts of things. And I think RJ Spinner put it pretty well a couple of months ago when he was on the show, and he was saying 97.5% of our intelligence lies outside of the physical frame. And to access this team that we have in spirit, we have to ask, right? Now, intuition hits that come through from them will still be them trying to communicate, but then that's down to you to because you have free will as to whether you accept that or not. And you don't know, right? You don't know whether this is just a thought that came to you, whether it's being, you know, provided to you from these effective outside agencies. And I say outside, but they're not really, because it's part of who you are, right? So unless you actually go deep and actually ask questions, and, you know, when you have things going on in your life and you can take a step back and ask the question of your higher self, which is 97.5% of your intelligence. And if you don't access that, then you're just stuck with 2.5% for your lifetime. So, and I know it's fantastical because I was, you know, in left brain reality for many decades. And I would have regarded this as deluded nonsense rather than reality. But certainly my studies as a left brainer of the last 6.5 years have revealed that actually I was very wrong and this is very true. So, but again, everybody has to make their own mind up. This is just us putting out our version of the truth. You decide what is right for you, and you know, that's it. You are responsible for you and how you feel and think about life. But it is quite enlightening, and it is quite it makes life better when you start to realize that, certainly it did for me. It made my life better once I started to realize that I have a team John Drew. It's not just me. It's all load of us. Now, when I put the questions out on the invitation, we asked about the who and the why of Drunvalo Melchizedek. Now, also, what is Melchizedek consciousness? And one of the things that was answered there was actually by Drunvalo himself, who explained what Melchizedek consciousness is. It actually is a type of consciousness that can go anywhere whenever there is a dimensional shift involved, where the existing population cannot do it by themselves. So he came in as a higher dimensional being. He went up to the 6th dimension to meet with the ascended masters. He was taught by Thoth. He was, he even spent time in the Pleiades. He spent time on Sirius. He spent time even calling in at Venus on his way here. And again, it sounds fantastical, and a lot of people will shrug their shoulders and say, well, that's complete nonsense. But all we're doing is planting the seeds. Just, if that's the way you feel about it, just think about it as a bit of a sci-fi kind of adventure. And I totally get it. A decade ago, I would have had to be on that side of the fence. So I no judgment against anybody that thinks that way. So Melchizedek consciousness is the thing that comes in to help a species or a planet or whatever at times of dimensional shift, when it can't be handled purely by the indigenous people who are there. And it's one of the things that I found quite interesting is that Jesus was regarded as high priest in the order of Melchizedek, which again makes sense because he was here to help the ascension of humanity. So therefore, yeah, absolutely, he was part of the Melchizedek consciousness as well. And that's a biblical reference there from Genesis as well. And another thing that was very interesting, again, I come back to my friend Soaring Eagle, who made this hat for me, which was likened against his very own hat with me quartz to kind of give me this fantastic energy. But one of the things, I'll just read this out from how Soaring Eagle talks about who he is. I was awarded an honorary doctorate for my thesis of the physics of ascension. I am also a Native American holy man and priest in the Holy Order of Melchizedek. How about that? So, yeah, it's a Melchizedek theme going on today. But again, it's just the number, given I'd never even heard that phrase mentioned a few weeks ago. I'm Melchizedeking all over the place now. What else did we put on this? Okay, the history of the Maya and their link to Atlantis. Now, that's not covered within that, but it is within the book. And what's really interesting, it goes back to the times of Atlantis. And again, you have to suspend disbelief because it's just a legend, but it wasn't a legend. It really did exist, as it did Lemuria before that. So when it gets described as how the setup of society was in Atlantis, it's kind of like a 3-ringed circle. So the small circle in the middle, a second outer circle, and then the wider circle. The wider circle represented the populace, the population of Atlantis. The second ring going in was regarded as the Mayans. Now, the Mayans were the priests and priestesses. So they were the holy people who were the linkage between there and the beings in the middle, who were effectively ascended masters. So they had ascended masters who lived within the temples and the likes, and the Mayans would be the go-betweens between the ascended masters and the general population. So that was the Mayan link to that and to Atlantis. And what happened before the collapse and the downfall of Atlantis, then there was a split. They could see this was coming. They knew they needed to travel. So they traveled to places like Egypt. They traveled to different places in America, South America, like Peru. They established themselves in North America. They went over to Tibet. They went over to Easter Island, and the various factions of what were those original Mayans. Now, the different tribal names, the Hopis were originally Mayans, and certainly the Incas and various others. A lot of them relate back to this original Mayan culture that comes from Atlantis, which I found really interesting. Why are the Maya important to planetary changes and the new cycle? Well, you'd be familiar with the Mayan calendar, finished in 2012. And it finished actually, in fact, on that 21st of December 2012, because that was the end of that 12,812.5 year cycle at that point. So that's why the Mayans regarded it as the end times, because that was the end of one cycle, but also the birthing of the next. And this was what Drunvalo was here to do, is to end one cycle and begin the next. And to do that, there was a lot of ritual and ceremony that had to take place all over the planet with all these indigenous tribes who had the wisdom still from thousands of years earlier and knew what had to be done, but they couldn't do it alone. They needed the likes of Drunvalo going in there with, he had, say, 59 people from around the planet who were there traveling with him to perform these ceremonies along with the indigenous people. And there's some fascinating stories within that. Honestly, if we had time, and I'll definitely be digging into this a little bit deeper. So what does this new cycle signal for humanity is obviously a very important question. And what it is, that old cycle that finished on the 21st of December 2012 was the end of the masculine energy cycle, which again is all about that egoic top-down control, whereas the new incoming cycle is actually the feminine energy. It now swings back over to the feminine energy, and there's a massive rebalancing has to take place, because what happens is towards the end of a cycle, that energy, that masculine energy, gets stronger and stronger and stronger at the expense of the feminine energy, and so everything falls out of balance. So part of what Drunvalo had to do was to rebalance the unity consciousness grid that was mentioned and repair the unity consciousness grid. And to do that, he had to go through all this ritual and ceremony. And then effectively have the masculine had to hand over to the feminine energy. And what we're seeing playing out in the world now is the old guard still kind of like doing their thing to try and hang on to power. Their day has actually gone. That ended 12 years ago almost. And where we are now is we are in the new cycle, but the birthing of that cycle takes decades, right? So we're seeing the old playing out. You've only got to look at the politics in America right now and everything that's going on there as like a showcase for how these things are changing, but also we're actually starting to see through the fact that, again, Pam Gregory put it really well last weekend when she was talking about it's like watching a play and the actors are having to speak louder and louder because the scenery is starting to collapse all around them. They're trying to convince you that this is reality. That is, in fact, the old guard. That is, they are trying to create fear. They're trying to keep small, trying to keep us divided. The reality is this new time, this new 13,000 years cycle, is not just the feminine energy, but it's also going back to unity consciousness. That previous cycle was all about the separateness, about the fact that we see ourselves as separate from everybody. But now we're coming back to this unity consciousness, heart-based consciousness, where we start to appreciate the fact that we all come from the same single source. And it comes back to the law of divine oneness, which is that we are all connected. And this is what we will discover. And again, I appreciate for those who are less familiar with this, that will sound like nonsense. But yeah, don't worry about it. I mean, keep what works for you for now. But again, this is just planting the seeds about where we're heading and what's going on right now. What can we do to prepare ourselves for change? Well, if this sparks curiosity, check it out for yourself. That's what I would say. You don't have to take Elevated Planet's words for it. You don't have to take mine and Jole's words for this. Bear in mind, mainstream media is a very flawed concept these days. We're all being fed a narrative that is designed to keep you small, that is keeping you away from how powerful you really are. Just have a great deal of discretion about what you're prepared to accept as your truth. So what do you think, Jole? What do you want to add to that last little section?
I think you summed it up nicely, but isn't it beautiful how these things kind of overlay? And although there's been decades and hundreds of years over some of these principles and these places, the energy and the power is still there. It's just up to us to uncover it. And believe it or not, you can sit where you are and you can tap into that energy. It's a simple meditation, creative visualization that allows you to have access to these things that you cannot see. But the catch is you believe it. You know, sometimes we see these things or we have these voices that we hear, but we feel like, who am I? I'm not, you know, Neil Donald Walsh. Or we imagine that these people who have walked side by side with these great spiritual beings are elevated beyond us. Like, let's say, Drunvalo Melchizedek. We feel like, oh my gosh, you know, but what he has, you have. We all have. And it's just a matter of Drunvalo. You know what happened? He believed it. It came in, he took it in, and he ran with it. And look at the world has expanded and opened up to him. And we are reading his work. And the same can go to you. So for us and you, it's like, let go of the fear and unlock yourself. So when you hear your voices and that intuition guiding you, listen to that, because the social engineering that we have been under for so long has gotten us where we are now. And we're all fighting to get out or get somewhere else almost, or to ascend out of this prison planet in a way, right? Or that mentality. So I would just say, really be open to listening to you instead of what is going on outside of you. And whatever resonates, take it in and leave the rest. But these places on Mother Earth speak to there being portals and pathways to elevation and ascension, spiritually, emotionally, as well as physically. So I think maybe we should tap into that.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, and it's exciting because, you know, this new feminine energy that's coming in and will become the dominant force. At the moment, you know, the old guard is still kind of hanging on to power, and you know, but it is inevitable that that feminine energy comes in. And the beauty of that is the collaborative nature of feminine energy. And that the fact that it's something that where we will work together, and there will be a balance between masculine and feminine, but the feminine energy is going to be the leader. And I think that is just that so needs to happen right now.
Absolutely. And you can see kind of the struggle of that feminine energy being birthed in our society right now because of the fight. And when you that's happening against it in so many different ways. But a lot of people think feminine energy and they use these buzzwords like weak, you know, some people will even call you certain body parts and bad words to put it on the feminine energy, right? But all the feminine energy, when we say that, what we mean is a tapping into your intuition, collaboration, you know, looking for harmony and peace in your life, right? Yes. Instead of, you think about a hunter-gatherer, you go out into the elements, you may face things that you have to have a machete to cut down the weeds, you know, you might have to defend yourself. This is the masculine energy of building, of protecting. But now the feminine, now that that's been established, right? The feminine energy comes in to nurture and to elevate and to sort of create. And that's where we're at when we talk about the feminine energy. So don't think we're saying we want you to be soft in terms of who you are or not stand up for yourself. It's just we're asking for you to start trying to harmonize all parts of you so that you support your inner child, your outer child, and we can stop this sabotaging ourselves and each other. So the feminine energy seeks to harmonize, to growth, guidance, those types of things versus, you know, building and colonizing and, you know, action steps.
Yes. And again, I think that, again, a point that you made as well about the fact that, you know, it's the hierarchical structure of the past that is something that was very prevalent and still continues to be prevalent, but won't remain that way because everybody is equal. You know, as you say, whether it's Drunvalo, whether it's a president or a presidential candidate, or whether it's a prime minister, or whether it's a homeless person on the streets, everybody has an equal value, right? And that is what we will also come to embrace over time. And you know, this society has got out of balance, but it's not going to remain that way. You know, we don't fight the old, we build the new, and that's what we're doing. We're building the new, They're building the new, which is going to take us to a world of unspeakable beauty. And it's exciting.
Yes, we have our marching orders, so that's what we are doing, and graciously. And people ask, well, how do I connect? What do I do? One of the first things you can do is just breathe and bask in gratitude. Gratitude is just so important in raising your vibration and allowing you the first step to tap into your intuition.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. So what I was going to suggest now, if we go on to this next little section, because then I am going to step aside for a while, because I'm going to leave Joe to follow this, because this next little section is our good friend, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is again talking about this, the meditation side of things, the superpower of silence and reconnecting with your infinite potential. And this is very much Jole's world. So it will be over to Jole to take it from there, and then she will go directly into the guided meditation. And then at the end, we can do our wrap up and all that sort of thing. So are we okay to dive into that, Jole?
Absolutely. Let's roll.
Silence is the key to unlocking your most extraordinary dreams, acting as a portal to a life beyond your wildest imagination. In this very moment, you possess the power to completely transform your existence. It all begins by stepping into the quiet space within you. Consider how often you truly allow yourself to be silent. In our constantly noisy world, we are bombarded with information, opinions, and distractions. Our minds endlessly chatter, rehashing the past and worrying about the future. This noise disconnects us from our true selves and our infinite potential. Embracing silence creates something magical. You tap into a wellspring of creativity, wisdom, and power that has always been within you, waiting to be noticed. It's like turning down the volume on a radio and finally hearing the beautiful song playing softly in the background all along. In silence, you begin to hear your inner voice, not the critical one that doubts and judges, but the wise, loving voice that knows your true worth. This voice has been guiding you your entire life, but it has been drowned out by the world's noise and your busy thoughts. As you practice being silent, you'll notice changes within yourself. Your mind becomes clearer, like a still lake reflecting the sky. Solutions to problems that once seemed impossible start to appear, and ideas and inspiration flow effortlessly. You experience a sense of peace and contentment that is not dependent on external circumstances. The most exciting part is that these changes don't stop within you. As you cultivate inner silence, the world around you begins to shift. Opportunities start appearing out of nowhere, the right people show up in your life at just the right time, and things that used to frustrate you now roll off your back. You find yourself in a state of flow, where life unfolds with ease and grace. This is not just wishful thinking or New Age fluff. It's supported by cutting-edge research in neuroscience and quantum physics. When you quiet your mind through meditation and mindfulness, you literally change the structure and function of your brain, creating new neural pathways that support positivity, creativity, and resilience. At the quantum level, your thoughts and emotions send out vibrations that interact with the energy field around you. In a state of inner turmoil, you broadcast static. But when you cultivate inner silence, you become a clear channel, able to receive and transmit on a much higher frequency. Think of it like tuning a radio. When you're stuck in negative thought patterns and emotional reactivity, you're tuned into a station playing nothing but problems and limitations. But by accessing that quiet space within, you start picking up a new frequency, one of infinite possibilities and abundance. The amazing thing is, you don't have to force this change. You don't need to struggle or push. All you need to do is get out of your own way and allow the natural intelligence of your body and mind to work its magic. Silence is the doorway to this state of allowing. I understand some of you might be thinking, this sounds great, but my life is chaotic. I don't have time to sit in silence. We all have busy lives filled with demands and responsibilities. But here's the thing. You don't need hours of uninterrupted quiet to start this journey. Even a few minutes a day can make a significant impact. Begin small. Set aside just 5 minutes each morning to sit in silence before your day begins. Close your eyes, focus on your breath, and simply observe your thoughts without engaging with them. If your mind wanders, gently bring your attention back to your breath. No special techniques or complicated rituals are required. As you make this a daily habit, accessing that inner quiet space will become easier, even during a hectic day. You'll develop the ability to pause and center yourself before reacting to stressful situations, making decisions from a place of clarity rather than confusion. Over time, you might extend your silent time to 15 minutes or even an hour. However, don't worry about the quantity. It's the quality of your attention that matters most. 5 minutes of true presence is far more powerful than an hour of distracted meditation.
So thank you for joining me for this meditation. And as you can tell, Dr. Joe came in and said, 5 minutes of silence is better than 15 minutes of distracted meditation. However, I'm going to take you through a creative visualization of silence so that just follow my voice. And it is commanded that as my voice takes you through this guided meditation, you will create silence within your mind, your body, your spirit, and your energy field. So to begin, I would like for you to please put your feet flat on the floor, your palms face up on your thighs. For those of you who may be laying down, please keep your feet flat for the beginning part of the meditation. Now, as you connect with your breath and begin to breathe with the rhythm of your body, bring your awareness to your heart, your chest, and command for all the cells in your body to turn heart-shaped, moving love throughout all of your organs, your ligaments, your muscles, your bones, and all of the systems in your body, and especially your skin, moving it out into that aura layer. It's just you're surrounded by love. And inside of you is nothing but love. And what does love open up? Love opens up space. So as you breathe with the rhythm of your body, I'd like you to command your heartbeat to now sync up with your breath, harmonize with the systems in your body. Now, bring your awareness to between your sit bones and ground your energy into Mother Earth. And since we are moving into a state of unspeakable beauty, we're going to bring heaven and earth together within us by creating a grounding cord that is of golden rain. And if you don't like the golden rain, you can do a golden portal. But this time, instead of it being straight down, we're going to command that it be a gentle spiral all the way down. Our grounding cord is connecting with the energy and the spirals of wisdom that are contained within Mother Earth. And gold conducts that positive energy with which we need to pull in, not only for healing, but for us to bring in that feminine energy that allows us to harmonize, collaborate, and create. Make sure you root and ground yourself into Mother Earth. And as you do so, call in your golden rose-shaped cleaning utensils. Mine are usually scrubbing bowls. And they become one with your grounding cord, removing and resolving anything you're ready to let go of, anything you're ready to release, and especially any genetic and ancestral blockages to your positive journey towards bliss and peace and unspeakable beauty in this lifetime. So whatever contract, vow, agreement, other obligation that your ancestors your genetic code may have made with any type of energy in the past that no longer serves you, we are no longer under that. It is commanded that this trauma be resolved and dissolved on a history level, cancel, pull, delete, soul, core, and genetic, and sent to Creator's light, replaced with unconditional love for others and self, unconditional forgiveness, as well as that creation, that reconnection, and that harmonizing with the laws of the universe and positive energies that surround us. And filling up that space within ourselves with love and gratitude, which is the recipe for expansion and positive creation. And this is for you. So take a deep breath in. It's all you. When we fill up our cup and we harmonize all parts of us, that's when we begin to experience the silence of action, movement, and healing. So I'd like for you to create, visualize, and imagine the emptiness in all of the cells of your body being filled up with love, being filled up with gratitude. So you connect with that part of you that is the brain, and you pour love, heart-shaped love and gratitude into your brain, into your mind, into your neck, all in your shoulders, your chest, your stomach, your hips, your thighs, your knees, your legs, your feet, your hands, your arms are just, all of it is filled up with heart-shaped energy. As this moves out into your aura layer, filling you up and out into your environment. As you breathe with the rhythm of your body and you connect with that silence within you, that intuition, the voice of love that guides you. As you call your higher self above you and you say, do your magic. Stand above me in your power and create a holographic image of me in the universe, in my power. And allow for that energy to rain down into all my cells, creating an energy of peace and bliss, filling up the space within the space of our loving gratitude. And these cells now are beginning to pulsate with the electricity of love as they push out into our aura layer, filling up our environment, magnetizing to us peace, love, harmony, connection, collaboration, creation, and creating that alignment with the laws of the universe. As you take a deep breath in, you exhale, and you allow for this energy to propagate, expand, and grow within your energy field. This silence is creating love and gratitude within your energy field that is then moving out into your environment. So today, as you go about your day, the affirmations are, in my silence, I project love, I project gratitude, and I project peace in my environment. And that love and that gratitude and that peace comes back to me. So now, in your heart-centered space, I'd like for you to see an infinity symbol, a beautiful emerald green infinity symbol, so that this silence, this love, this gratitude, and this peace creates an infinity loop within your heart, programming your blood and your cells and that space within the space. And now these cells, this infinite energy is moving throughout your body. As we've learned about the concaveness and the roundness of our blood, now these cells in this blood, they come together to create an infinity. And that space within is filled with love, gratitude, creativity, harmony, and divine silence allows for this to expand and propagate, connecting you to your intuition, your higher self, the divine, Mother Earth, and your fellow man in the highest and best way with grace and ease. All of you is whole and complete, sitting in the infinite space of love, gratitude, creation, and harmony. Any other positive thing you can imagine. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, see yourself just expand, your aura layer just pushing out with love into your environment, affecting change, positive change in your community and in your world. And most certainly within you. Hold a space for your expansion and love, for that feminine energy of creativity and harmony to fill up the spaces within you in the highest and best way with grace and ease. Thank you. It is done, and so it is. Bring your awareness to your heart if you're not there already. Take a deep breath in, exhale, connect with your grounding cord, remain grounded. Your aura layer, higher self, your astral body is snapped in. But your aura this time is big and wide, and it is just projecting love all out into your environment. And the one last thing we're going to do before we end is I want you to generate, create, or imagine. And if that's difficult for you, command it to be so. Just say, it is commanded that my energy field is surrounded with spiritual roses of protection, so that love that I give comes back to me as well. So we're going to protect our energy, and we're going to make sure we stay in this state of bliss. So as you move throughout your day, if negativity comes your way, you automatically replace that with a positive opposite of that. And let's turn that into a practice, because now we've been energized with infinity, the cells coming together, binding with each other, harmonizing in a way that creates love, peace, and expansion in the highest and best way with grace and ease. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you, Jolie. I truly appreciate that.
Thank you.
So yeah, and absolutely on message as well. You know, the Dr. Joe thing, I think, and that were just like beautiful, meshed like.
Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, let's do the wrap up. It's now we are coming to the end. As usual, tomorrow we shall be sending out our weekly. Anybody who wants to join our distribution list, send me an email to johndrew@elevatedplanet.life, or go onto our website, which is elevatedplanet.life, where there is a contact page as well, and we can be reached through that as well. So if you have any questions, any thoughts, observations, then please do share them with us. And, you know, we're always looking to expand our community. So anybody, please do come and join us. And I know, Jola, you're going to remind me of this one anyway, but don't forget to like and subscribe
Yes. Please, we could use it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, if you like what you're seeing, do give us that little bit of encouragement with a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. And don't forget to tell all your friends and family. You know, this is what Sundays are all about. Thank you also to our Elevated Planet community. We greatly value you, whether you're here to watch the live or whether you're here to watch the recording. And it's just wonderful to have you in our community. Thank you.
And we'll see you next week, right?
We'll see you next week. You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.